Hi, welcome to another episode of the Itinerary. It's been about 2 weeks since my last recording, and a couple of reasons for that. I think last week we actually went to Victoria, I have a lot of geo notes here. Like I have to rebrand this to Atlanotes, but yeah. My area of Victoria, even though we were there for about 3 days, um, there are so many pins. There are just way, way too many pins. Um, so it does give me some ideas. Like I'm glad I have all of these here. It was kind of a challenge using this map and using this app. Probably just in the case of where am I actually supposed to put my thoughts, and I kind of decided that the government building was actually some of the places where I thought where I wanted to put how I felt about Victoria. Um, so given our, I guess we can call it early retirement from Microsoft, we have a lot of time on our hands, and we had some ability to, was like, hey, there's these things that I wanted to do around the area, but I've never found like the time, chance, and now we can actually go do it. And so one of those things is like Victoria's right there, and it'd be a shame if we lived here and moved somewhere else and never went to someplace like Victoria or Bainbridge Island. So it was between Victoria or Bainbridge Island, and we picked Victoria. So we went to Victoria for a bit, and I really had no expectations. I just thought it was like, okay, it's a island Canadian city, so I just thought it was going to be something like Vancouver. Totally not that. Victoria to me is very strange in some ways. It's got to sound weird. Victoria to me doesn't feel like Canada. Yes, it feels like a Disneyland version of Canada, like the way Disneyland feels like America. It just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like a real place that people live. It feels for its sole existence is for tourism. Kind of in like the same way like Las Vegas doesn't feel like a real place, or yeah, Disney doesn't feel like a real place. It's like Vancouver is a real place. Vancouver is a real place where people live and do like build ideas and business and industry. Like I think it took me a little while to think about, but when I was looking at like who's the largest employer, it's the government, and I think the ferry business, and that pretty much tells you. I was like, oh, okay, so it sort of solely exists for the purpose of tourists to come in here to enjoy this island in Canada. And then when it was also combined the fact that you have these cruise ships that come in through this port. I think it was, where is it? Right here. Yeah, it's like these huge cruise ships that dock by. I believe a lot of these come from the Pacific. We had a lot of Japanese people drop off. So like this is their first interaction with Canada. So as a result, this city kind of has to be like the first ambassador for all of their expectations of what Canada is. Very like, so it becomes like, for someone who was born and raised in Canada, this place just feels very strange because it's kind of like a parody version of Canada, where you throw as much maple leaf moose accoutrements to like 50 different gift shops selling anything and everything possibly Canadian on it, with maple leaf flags and everything. The strange things to me were like the gift shops were open till like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., which is just, to me, it's like very strange. it didn't mean like I didn't enjoy it. It just like I wasn't really expecting what was basically 90% tourist traps, which is basically what it almost came off as very intimidating as someone who likes enjoying traveling to feeling authentic culture of places, and that was kind of a little bit of an opposite of that, and I'm just trying to enjoy like the feeling regardless. Um I did have a good reason to actually go beyond just seeing that. There's a gym here in Victoria that is a kickboxing gym, Victorian Martial Arts, and it actually has this famous kickboxing champion, as much as famous kickboxing champions is Gabriel Varga. And I've been watching his videos for a while, and I wanted to, if I was going to go to the city, I wanted to go to his gym. And my ass got kicked like 1,177 calories over the course of a little over 2 hours. So max heart rate 198. Your max should be about 220 minus your heart rate. So I'm 34. Yeah. So I'm about like 6 beats a minute higher than what my maximum should be. And I think this was above there for about a good 10 minutes. So I was basically dying. But I learned a lot, and I kind of took those lessons back with me when I was instructing my next class. If you don't know, I do teach Muay Thai on part-time occasion, just whenever the gym needs me to, because apparently they mistakenly believe that I'm the best guy for the job. So, yeah, that was a really cool time. I'm not entirely sure I'd be back, but I did the things. Like I went to this fisherman's wharf area, brought Sammy, and Sammy made some friends. A lot of plushies, like fish and other sort of stuff. I was kind of amused that these are actually houses where people live in, and I don't know what compels someone to live in a tourist trap. That's kind of crazy to me. Of a bunch of people walking around, and hopefully they respect your property and not treat it like a tourist destination. Yeah, Victoria. I'm also got tea. There's the famous place, the Fairmont Hotel, right over here. The Empress building, and it is a beautiful, like, this is like the best looking hotel I've ever seen in my life. So they're famous for this afternoon tea, which we did not do because, quite frankly, I no, it's one of those, like, I don't know, but like the word is on local areas, it's just like, this is, if you actually live there, you do it one and done. And there's a bunch of those tourist trap things where, over in Seattle, it's the Space Needle. I have not been to the Space Needle. I kind of don't plan to, but everyone kind of tells me it's like, you have to do it at least once. And I was like, I don't know, it's not even like the best place to be, like, to see the observation of Seattle. Like, my personal favorite is the Smith Tower, but the hotel, I didn't stay at this hotel, and I didn't have tea in it, but it's a beautiful building, and if you kind of walk around with confidence, you can pretend you're a guest and enjoy the interior of the hotel, which is what I sort of did, sort of walking around inside of it. Beautiful, like, artificial, like beautiful, like, sculpted gardens around. There's Sammy. Sammy's being cute. Exceptionally well lit at night. Yeah. But the afternoon tea service, because of how famous it was, it's like 125 Canadian dollars, which, yeah, it's Canadian dollars. I think it sets out to be about $90 US. That's still, like, to me, a crazy amount, because I have had tea in Vancouver, at a Fairmont property in Vancouver, and that was 75 Canadian dollars a person. So let me see if I can find it. This is what I do love about this app, is I can just kind of, like, I know where this is. I don't have to go digging around my photos. I know I know roughly speaking where. There it is. See, the Fairmont Hotel in Vancouver. We got breakfast. Yeah, this is actually where my post got very simplistic. So this was like 75 for two people, and it is like jam packed. Like this is basically your breakfast and lunch for your day, and maybe you might even skip have a lighter dinner because these scones are quite amazing. But to me, it's like this was my first afternoon tea in an English sense, and it to me is like one of the best because they theme it every season. So it became like a Christmas season, and they would adorn the place full of it's like Christmas areas, and it's like this secret speakeasy kind of room. I really wish like this used to be where I made a lot more simplistic posts because I translated them over to Blue Sky and then moved over to Atlanotes, so I didn't have the flexibility of what I would do right now, which is like these long posts about my experiences. So, but I did do afternoon tea in Victoria. So if we pull this out, I should increase the scroll speed down here. Did do afternoon tea, but it was at the Pendry Inn. Should be over here. So this was like $75 a person. I think it was like, yeah, it was like 60 or 75. It was like 2/3 the cost of the Fairmont Hotel. And it was just fantastic. Like they had a BC, like they had two kinds of menus on it, and we got one of each. So there was like a West Coast one, and then there was like a traditional like Victorian era one. So you would have different somewhat different dishes on one side. Like I got a rockfish toast on one end, and then there's like a Yorkshire pudding on with roast beef on the other. So you can have two different ones, where the Fairmont you only have the same one for 125, and the food quality here was exceptional. Like I really enjoyed everything I got from here. Like I really wouldn't like, I don't know because I haven't been there, but I just have a hard time believing that the food quality could be that much better with sort of the lack of flexible variety that I got that I saw out of the Fairmont Hotel. So I think if you were to go, this is probably like you're doing it still in this beautiful Victorian house. You still have the Victorian china set. You're still having biscuits and crumpets and tea and of the multiple variety sets, and you're still doing it in Victoria. I totally would do this again, and I don't feel like I missed out. Oh, but so many notes. So I'm sure there's like other stuff I could talk about doing, but that was like kind of the major thing. The first time I took the ferry out from Seattle, so do have that note down here. So I decided that, I would just put all my note ventures at the ferry station, even though we were in like the middle of the water.
Yeah. And the consumption of any alcohol not purchased on board is prohibited. Now we invite you all to sit back, relax, and enjoy your cruise to Victoria.
Yeah, so Sammy is excited. And then Sammy got home. So I brought Sammy the otter. Sometimes she comes along and runs around all around the world. You actually can find various geonodes of Sammy running around. Oh yeah, the food on the FRS Clipper, it's just way better than it has any business being. I think this is all just because Alki Bakery is just awesome at what they do. They do the same stuff on the Amtrak trains, and this grilled beef banh mi is actually like, in fact, I had a banh mi at a real actual place, and I think this was like better than that now that I think about it, because I didn't actually think about it that much. But it's like there was like a Vietnamese place that did do ham and pate, and maybe it was just the unexpected outcome of it, but I think I enjoyed this one more than the one that I got locally. So let's, because I spent so much time talking about this. I didn't really talk about, like, I wasn't happy about where I left last episode, because I was talking about the regression that I had. This load more button doesn't work, and now it does. So what ended up here was this React hook just didn't have the dependencies it had in it. And I kind of left off the other episode, as I remember the AI agents were trying to work on the problem without the test. And it did do it. But the iterations it had far more dependencies than it actually needed. So I don't know where. So yeah, so like some of it was like you still need the show error dependencies, and some of it was like, hey, we have like get latest bounds on this one, and that wasn't needed. And I was like, okay, how about we actually like write the real test and then have it actually deal with this for real. So somewhere in here, files change. So there's let me make this easier. So in this test, I made it so that the integration test creates 10 geonotes in sort of a row. And then what that happens is that there's a total of 12 of them on the application. So each time you make them, it appends it to the top of this list. So if you make 20 of them, there'll still be 20 on this row, on this list. Like, that's not actually the problem that we experienced, which is hitting this load more button to actually load more geonotes, and it never actually did anything. So I added this test, and then I made it click this, and then I made it to refresh the app, like if I did this. And then afterwards, you should see only 10 of them. So if I scroll down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then afterwards, it was just like, hey, but we should see 12 markers on here. Now it's like there's way more than that because this is the real app. And then after that, you would click on this, and then you would see, like, you would expect to have 10 of these, which is what happens. And then when you click this, there's 12 markers, so then it would load the other 2. And now you would have 12. In this case, we would have 20. We would expect 10 more to load. Now, I wrote this test, and then I cleared out all the, fixes it did, which did work. But I wasn't like confident about, hey, what React hook do you need, when and where? So afterwards, like I just said, it's like, okay, let's just kill all of this. And then we go have the AI agent, after we wrote this test, run the integration test again. We expect it to fail. And then once it fails, we would tell it to go fix the code until the test pass. And then, and then we proceeded to continue, and then it would continue to iterate and do that until it worked. So that's what it did. And then once it passed it built an implementation that passed this test, we then can review this code, and I think I left off, there was like way more dependencies. We are left with just the dependencies that caused this test to fail and nothing else. I think there was like a first thing, and it loaded all like 8 of them back in. So prior to like this one, like there was like 10 of these dependencies, and now we've minimized them down to 3. And then we can constantly keep asking it to remove them until the minimum was met to get everything to work, which includes editing a GeoNode and coming in and clicking on it and saying that I wanted to have it edit. So that involves attaching this test ID to actually make it the button clickable, expect the button to be there, expect to click it. Once you click it, these things happen. These kinds of fixes make me completely happy about me leaving my job and doing this, because this is how I believe we should be doing things. It shouldn't be a bunch of one-shot guesses of an AI agent trying to do the best job of the implementation, because I had this conversation, I think, about yesterday with someone, and it was just like, this is the correctness of the app. Like, I'm giving... If you have to think about it this way, it's almost like you used to write Jira tickets describing the problems of the bug. You're now writing the problems of the bug, in a defined integration test in a way that the AI agent can prove the correctability of the fix that it's doing. The correctability is easy. You ask it to run the test, and if it passes, then it works. Let me see if I can actually... see. Yeah, so I made the skill, which then does all of these things, and then the AI agent just like runs these things to verify that they do these. And when it fails, it tries to iterate through the problem until it finds me a satisfactory solution that passes this test. And then, like a manager, I go then take a look at its work and ask it questions about improving it. And I really do believe that is the future of how your software engineer, like good quality software engineering and code, and what your job is going to be. Yeah, so I also made, after that, a few other changes. Let's see. Oh, so cool thing. Let's see. Create GeoNode. So it used to be that this marker would not move if I change this latitude and longitude number. Now if I keep scrolling it up, it will move. Let me see. Also, if I put this pin here, then it will start moving. So, yep. So, yay. That's part of this test fix. And again, I decided that the important part was actually to write the test to kind of define that these things did what it did. I had the AI agent kind of help me out to say, it's like, I don't know what the criteria is to actually prove to make it move, but I wanted something to, like, I wrote some aspect of it. It's like, I knew that if I ask it to open this and click this, then these numbers should change. So if I do this and this, these numbers should change. But I didn't know exactly how to make it so that it proved that this map marker moved the CSS. So I did this portion where I would fill this out. Let's see. Right here. expect the form value was changed. Like it's like, hey, if I open this here and I say create geonote, then these numbers should change. But I didn't know how to make it so that, you know, I knew that this marker moved. I asked for it kind of specifically, and it came with this get pending marker transformations and test assertions. So right here, and that evaluates the CSS transformed between them, which is good enough for me. I just need to know that it moved. I don't need to know that it moved to the exact lat long coordinates. If it moved, it probably moved to the right place. And that's the important thing when you're writing these tests, and it's one of those things that in my discussion with someone that it was like, oh, well, the AI agent can always just figure out like all aspects of the test. I was like, no, like that's not actually true, because which was kind of ironic because he was talking about making like pixel comparison test and how dumb that was. It's like, yeah, if you can make a test where you screenshot 2 images and then you do a pixel comparison, and if every single pixel lines up correctly, then it passes. But that's such a strict acceptance criteria, and it doesn't have the nuances of let's put this private geo note. So I use this lock emoji to indicate that this is a private geonote. Now, emojis are interesting because on different platforms, this lock icon is different. So on iOS, it's different. On Androids, it's different. On it's like on Windows, it would be different, and Apple iOS would be different. The gun emoji is like one of those where it's like on different ones, they decide the gun is something else, whether it's a real gun or it's a water gun, etc. Now, if you did a pixel comparison, that would fail, because on different platforms, they would look different. But on a semantic level, so long as we have a lock-looking thing, this is fine. And it's one of those that, what's the important part of this test? Is it the exact pixel comparison, or if there is just some indication of this lock icon in the first place, which is a new feature I put in. It's like, I just need something to show me that this exists. And that's exactly what I did with it. So let me see. Username and style private geonotes. Yeah, expect timeline is private async. And then all it just says is that there's a private indicator, which is this one. Doesn't show it's like it needs to be a lock symbol, doesn't need to show that it's the yellow padlock, anything. I just have some test ID saying like this div exists to indicate that this is a thing. So that's a new improvement that I also put in too. And yeah, like this process is very addicting to me because it helps me focus on what I believe actual software engineering really should be, which is the defining of the problems in a way that is not overly specific and not underly specific. It's just right. So this is kind of what I do on a lot of feature sets. Let's see. Are you running build, or is Docker container not working? Yeah, Docker container did not run, so that's why. Oh dear, on top of that, it's like 14 days old. Yeah. Not perfect, but it's one of those like I'm not in the business of telling you AI agents are perfect. That's like the whole point of doing these episodes. They're not. I'm trying to tell you where this job actually is, where the work really happens. And the work really does happen on trying to like make these tools still have this human element of your judgment involved with it. And that's why this thing is kind of going as gradually as it is. But I'm very happy about making the right choices and the quality of results that I would never be able to do in a large company that keeps trying to push me on the next feature, the next feature, and the next feature, rather than working on what I really do believe should be done. I actually dodged a bullet because I sort of had a smaller security. So you will notice that I actually have this username tag. Now I can actually identify who made what posts, which is just me and my husband. But this actually used to be the email address, and that's a security problem. So like if you are exposing people's email addresses, that's actually a security problem, which, the incident was relegated to me and my husband. But I didn't like that, so I actually reverted this pull request because it did expose it, and then it turned out that logging into it, if the username and the email address were different, you couldn't actually log into the system. So there was actually a lot of like frustrating handling of the authentication service, which the nice thing is that this was actually fairly trivial to actually get a test to make the AI agent work. I think all I did was here it is. This is all I did. Because the username and the email used to be the same as the email address of these. So I just changed it to test user. And then that happened to cause the test to fail. That was like the most wonderful thing about getting that integration test going, is that once it failed, like it was like, I tested on production that like I had it on production instance that after I changed it from baku at email.com to baku, the login failed. So now all I had to do was replicate that same condition on the integration test, and that was very trivial. All I had to do was just this one change. And after this one change, the integration test started to fail, and the AI agent started picking up why it was failing, and then it started making the corrections itself. I think one of the big things that we want to talk, like maybe I want to talk about, is the big release of Qwen 3.8, which was kind of, went everywhere else, and then most importantly, Qwen 3.8 27B Max. Now I don't actually have it loaded because that's actually on my personal desktop. I bought an R9 700 graphics card for about $1,400. It was supposed to be just like a backup for this framework desktop that was running most of our models, but now it has turned out to be a primary machine, and that thing is quite astonishing about how it works. It feels like it has, between Sonnet and Opus capability, it does take quite some time to run. Like reviewing a pull request may take about 20 minutes. For the way I work, and one of the interesting things is that I've been working on this a lot, and it's kind of a little bit scary because my desk, when it was like a work from home situation from Microsoft, it was a place of high distraction. And now it feels like I have the opposite problem, where the place that I do my work and where I have my fun, it's very easy for me to just do more work rather than relax. And that doesn't seem like a bad thing at first, but I've found myself on weekends just constantly working because there's just like another thing, another feature, another thing I can bang out. And now I have this capability and it feels amazing, but it takes a while that I'd be like sitting down watching a UFC fight and in between rounds just sending another command prompt over and over. Now this sounds like unhealthy. I do find it enjoyable though. Like the thing is like I'm still building the thing that I love. I just trying to figure out where that balance is. I did have this episode where I think it was like after I finished these features, I just didn't know what to work on next. And I had a little bit of a freeze to try to like figure out what exactly I wanted to do next. So I'm kind of a little stuck, but I sort of like now know there's still like problems I have, which is like I need to make more than 10 photos, like 10 media options available. I still need to secure these controls because I'm logged in as test user, but it looks like I can edit Baku's geonotes like this. Thankfully, I think this fails. Yeah, this fails on a 403, but like you really shouldn't have these controls, but I really need to secure these API endpoints for another logged in user to do it. That's pretty serious. Like also deleting geonotes that are not yours, like this shouldn't happen. So like those are things I need to work on, but yeah, there was like just a case that I just stared at it where I didn't know what to do next. But the nice thing is that the easy thing is that one way I'm always trapped by this app because so long as I step outside, there's always something to talk about. There's very, very few instances where I would just end up with this app with nothing to do because, let me see, it's like, I went to 13 coins. I kind of felt like I'd rather go to Olive Garden. Sorry. Like, I know there's some people who really like this, but, you know, I was not very terribly impressed on one of those. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah, here's the banh mi that I think I like the boat sandwich better. Sorry, but like, that's kind of my honest truth about it. But yeah, it's like every time, and then once I start using it, I start figuring out what I really need to continue doing. Now, there's a divide that whether or not I want to keep building features for myself or whether or not I want to build features for other people to actually start using it and then release it out to people. And I think there's a bit of a conflict where those are two different things. Like, I'm always very tempted to keep working on stuff that makes it better for me. Because I'm like the best user of this app right now, but there's like an obvious thing that no one else can really use it until I build registration for it. But the idea of building registration for it seems complicated and scary and a bunch of other considerations about it. You know, so it makes it really easy just for me to just think about small bug fixes and small features. And that's okay. I mean, it's like until like I'm getting absolutely hounded about, hey, how do I sign up for it? I'm still kind of mostly comfortable at this stage. I mean, I think it's officially been about a month since I left Microsoft. Maybe I can still take some time, right? Anywho, there's some other stuff I would try to, like I was doing about, so I think I made a clip on Blue Sky about me making coffee, and that was that involved some experiments with me and DaVinci Resolve. I bought DaVinci Resolve Studio to try to play with some MCP systems, and I set up the MCP server for DaVinci Resolve and hooked it up to initially, well, so the part of the problem is if I hooked it up to Quen 27B, it would use up all my graphics card memory, which DaVinci Resolve kind of needs to actually run. And I wasn't totally sure if Quen 3.5, like 3.6 MOE would kind of do it. So actually, like the test is like I sent it to GPT, so I got like 40 credits from JetBrains to actually do it, to kind of experiment around with it. And it did some interesting stuff. It's not quite there yet. It did some white balancing and color correction because I was using like a Go 3S camera. I don't think it has the capability of making prompt edit, make this into a TikTok, Instagram reel video, which is naively what I believed when I started working for myself. That is like, I was going to try to figure out how to be a one-man army with all these AI tools and work for myself, but I'm starting to realize that the editing stuff is a lot more involved than what anyone who believes that should be. And the thing is that the AI models, even like the best ones from Google, can't really pick up video without transcription, like the context of transcription. So so analyzing a single frame already takes a lot of effort. Now, if you multiply that by 30 times 1 second over the course of, whether it's hours or minutes, like this is just absolutely unsustainable. So it did some like ideas about color correction and white balance where it took multiple frames of that coffee grinding video. Let's bring this up. So this was kind of my experiments with DaVinci Resolve. All these cuts are made manually, but this white balance color correction was done by GPT, and I thought it did an okay job. I mean, I just don't have the best lighting conditions, but what it did is it took several frames of the video and then decided to auto-correct balance, but it then used a Python script, and it caused my computer to crash, which was fun. Which is kind of one of those dangerous elements of it that I'm not totally sure, like, totally comfortable about playing with. It did also manage to export the video, although it struggled at doing so under 150 megabytes. It did some really weird stuff where it exported it at a higher resolution and a higher bit rate, and then used FFmpeg to actually re-export it back out to something 150 megs lower. But then it messed up the sound on it. So it's just like, this clearly isn't there. It also costed like $7 to do just those things. We're not talking about any of the editing stuff either, but there's some potential here, and the way I saw it is that it was, I think in the same way it's like we have these things for software engineers. These tools for video editors are probably only best in the hands of experienced video editors to know what this thing is actually best capable of doing. And as far as I know, the things like Opus Clip just don't work. Unless you have kind of some like planets align of everything to making like those viral clips if you have a lot of loud noises and stuff. But this ASMR style content, absolutely no chance. I would not believe that it would do this properly. So that's why all the cuts are manual. So I mean, yeah, I'm still just experimenting and playing around with it. I do not regret buying the studio version and trying to deal with the MCP protocol of it. I think this is just like experiment worth doing to try to figure out where are the boundaries of its capabilities and what makes good use of it. And it's the same way with software development of it. I'm quite excited about the results I'm getting with 3.8, though as slow as it is. It actually kind of makes me want to get a 5090, but oh my god, it's like $50,000, like it's $5,000. It's so expensive. So I'm sorry that if my face is also acting a little weird, I'm realizing I really need an actual lighting rig, like the ones for like TikTokers. I hate to say it, but yeah, like I have very harsh lighting conditions inside this office, so I need to go figure that out. Anyways, I'm trying to deal with this different format of it. I have a different microphone, and I'm trying to display this out into a vertical format. Maybe this will hopefully work out in me trying to make Instagram real TikTok style content. But yeah, this is another episode of the Itinerary. I hope I don't know who's tracking along, but if you track along, I find out what I'm doing. Let's keep this up, and I'll keep trying to truck these episodes along. Bye. Let me see. Bye.